Hello, 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 hello.
Sana. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly may you all rise as our guest of honor making his way to his seat. Thank you so much. You may be seated. Thank you so much, Rahat Zaman, for the wonderful performance. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such an honor. Before we begin, I would like to give a little bit of housekeeping note to make sure our event goes smoothly as we expect. May you all put your phone into silent mode to avoid any interruption. Asante sana. Honorable guest of honor, Honorable Sharif Ali Sharif, Minister of State, President Office, Labor, Economic Affairs and Investment. Our special guest, Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Hamad Al-Rumhi, the representative of Zanzibar Investment Opportunities in the Sultanate of Oman, the Managing Director of Zanzibar Investment and Business Insights Magazine, Hisham Abdul Qadir, ministers, deputy ministers, principal secretaries, deputy principal secretaries, and other government officials present today, diplomatic corps, member from private sectors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. And welcome to the official launch of the third edition of the Zanzibar Investment and Business Insight magazine, here in one of the greenest hotel in Zanzibar, Hotel Verde. My name is Farida Nasser Mohammed, and indeed, it's such an honor to be your moderator for today. Honorable guest of honor, our special guest, with your permission, allow me to proceed with the program by calling upon Managing Director of Zibi, Hisham Abdul Qadir, for welcoming remarks. Karibuni sana. Makofi kwake tafadhali as he makes his way here. Karibuni.
For Minister of Energy and Minerals, Fatima Abu Khamis, Principal Secretary, Minister of Trade and Industrial Development, Your Excellency Salim Hamid Al-Sinawi, Consul General of the Sultanate of Oman in Zanzibar, Ambassador of Brazil in Zanzibar, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a true honor to stand before you today as we unveil the third edition of Zibi magazine. Today's launch not only marks the release of this new issue, but symbolizes our shared commitment to propelling Zanzibar economic growth through collaboration, dialogue, and insights. Our theme today, the role of economic diplomacy in attracting foreign direct investments, intends to strengthening trade ties, boosting local brands, and fostering investment growth. This theme reflects the vision and underscores the collaborative efforts needed to elevate Zanzibar economic landscape. Before proceeding, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed editorial board, whose dedication and expertise make Zibi magazine the impactful platform it is today. I would like to invite our chairman, Professor Mohammed Hafid, our consultant editor, Ali Saleh, popularly known as Alberto, Dr. Tahir Khalfan, Fatma Musa, and my land brother, Advocate Masoud Salim. Please join me in giving them a round of applause for their invaluable contribution. We're immensely grateful for the support of our sponsors, whose commitment has been instrumental in bringing this event into fruition. Our heartfelt thanks go to the People's Bank of Zanzibar, Comnet, Rahisi Solution Company, India Institute of Technology, IIT Madras, National Microfinance Bank, Said Atunis, and Monana Communications. Your partnership strengthens our collective vision for Zanzibar economic development, and we deeply appreciate your contributions. I would also like to extend special recognition to our talented writers who have helped shape the rich content within ZB magazine. Their insights and perspectives make ZB a trusted resource for Zanzibar's business community. Writers in attendance today, please stand and wave your hands so we may recognize and appreciate your hard work. I saw Ali Sultani in the morning here. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Ali Sultani. Dear invited guests, Zibi magazine was established with a mission to provide a vibrant platform for Zanzibar's private sector. Zibi is a voice for entrepreneurs, investors, and stakeholders in sector vital to Zanzibar's growth, specifically the blue economy, tourism, finance, technology, infrastructure, and climate change. By connecting these ideas, we aim to build a shared future where economic progress and sustainability go hand in hand. ZB invites business of all sizes, from emerging ventures to established corporations, to showcase their insights that are creating a dynamic narrative for Zanzibar. We encourage you, our stakeholders, to utilize ZB as your platform. Publishing in ZB can take many forms, not only advertisements, but also advertorials and feature articles. Through sharing these stories, we collectively shape the economic landscape and inform future investments and development directions for Zanzibar. Dear invited guests, today's gathering reflects our commitment to enhancing the visibility of Zanzibar's vibrant economic sectors. It provides a unique forum to engage with leaders across industries and promotes a dialogue aimed at strengthening trade ties, enhancing local brands, and identifying pathways for impactful investment. Through conversations and insights shared here today, we hope to illuminate paths that drive growth in each of our focal areas. We have two enlightened panel discussions scheduled for today. Our first panel, Bridging Markets for Bilateral Trade and Investment Growth, will explore strategies for unlocking trade opportunities between Zanzibar and international markets. The second panel, Building Capacity and Brands for Local and International Markets, will examine the strategies for strengthening local brands and preparing them for the international stage, addressing both opportunities and the January, March, and April, June 2025.
Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we're heading to our first panel discussion. focusing on bridging markets for bilateral trade and investment growth. And I would like to call upon the moderator, Masood Salim, who would call his panelists and begin with the program. Karibu sana. Makofi kwake tafadhali.
Thank you so much, Farida. Great work as usual. Your Excellencies, I wish for today to be more of a conversation, and may I say that, Your Excellencies, I acknowledge your presence. Tunawashukuru sana. You're all of you very, very busy, and yet you made time to be with us. It's very special, and we're gathering for a very special event. Recently, we came back.
Doors for investors, but it's open doors for trade as well. So bilateral trade between these two countries is also improving now. And you can tell that even the numbers of Omani coming to Zanzibar or Zanzibari going to Oman has also increased tremendously. So to me, I think we are ready, both ends, to make sure that the trade between our two countries, the trade between our two countries and beyond will happen and will increase, and the growth will benefit the economy of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. When we were in Oman, you mentioned some, in your speech at the forum, rather a staggering figure of $1.2 billion of Omani investment from 27 projects in Zanzibar. That is very encouraging. And I think it was on this basis and the basis of the historical relationship that you recently, Honorable Minister, appointed His Excellency Dr. Hamid Al-Rumhi as Zanzibar representative, promoting investment in Oman, the GCC, and beyond. So investment in general, but particularly energy, investment in energy. Is it fine to ask, what are your expectations of that mandate that you assigned His Excellency? Briefly, then
First of all, let me say that this is a huge opportunity for Zanzibar. This is a very high-profile figure in Oman and beyond. And I think for him to accept this appointment to be our representative in Oman, in the areas of investment, but also in trade as well. But I'm sure in other venues we can talk and see how he can support Zanzibar to benefit out of what we have signed for him. So our expectation is huge as well. I know there will be a number of projects that will be coming here, especially in his profession, which is energy sector. We have a huge sectoral meeting this morning, and response from those sectors were huge, and they are very impressive. Everyone is excited to make sure that number of projects, including renewable energy projects, power energy, oil and gas. We even talked about water waste, sewage treatment facilities and all that. So our expectation is very positive, first of all, let me say, because the way he was mentioning it, the way he's ready to support us, and let me say this, the government is ready to support him as well to facilitate his ventures to us. Thank you.
Ahsante. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Now, in unpacking the Tanzania-Oman Business Forum, I will now take the mic to Principal Secretary Fatma.
Thank you.
Now, assuming that His Excellency Dr. Rumhi goes back to Oman and is very successful in sailing Zanzibar, and more investment is pouring into Zanzibar, more trade is pouring into Zanzibar, just to give that comfort that someone, whether within Zanzibar or outside considering Zanzibar, talk to us about ease of doing business. What are the steps that the government has taken or is taking to ease transactions, to ease a business? And if you can, then in connection to that, Minister Sharif talked about Zanzibar opening up, and that goes without saying. Now, as we open up and more business and more investment comes in, how do we then ensure, through your ministry or government in general, that local industries or local enterprises are benefiting from this growth? Karibu.
Asante sana, thank you so much. I would like to join His Excellency, the Minister, in commending Zibi and congratulating Zibi for the third edition. In all honesty, it is a wonderful initiative that is not only going to be linking the private sector with the public sector, but also be linking the businesses together. So it's a really great initiative, so I commend you for that. I'd also like to congratulate His Excellency Al-Rohmi for the appointment, and I join His Excellency Sharif to say that he's a pool of knowledge, and I think for us it's an honor to have you on board and to support us in our development efforts in Zanzibar. So to answer your first question, which was what initiatives is the government taking to ease the whole process of doing business? Firstly and foremost, through the ministry, we conducted a very thorough diagnosis on our current situation. That means all the processes and all the legislation and the whole framework in its totality. And we're able to identify the bottlenecks which are hindering businesses or at least delaying certain processes. So we came up with a report. It is called the Blueprint. And we're looking forward to launching that in partnership with the public and the private sector. And in that blueprint, it has identified all the areas from who is responsible, from the Ministry of Finance, from the ports. We've all come together, and we will also launch together with the blueprint a national committee that will be in charge of removing all these national trade, NTBs, national trade barriers, non-tariff barriers, sorry. And so with this committee, it will be working effortlessly to ensure that all the recommendations of the blueprint are being implemented, but also to ensure that, of course, bureaucracy is minimized as much as possible, and to ensure that us as a government are effectively and efficiently delivering the services to the public sector, especially the business community. And the other area, we understand that, of course, with development, we need to focus a lot on developing capacity. This has been at the core of the ministry's initiatives, and we're currently undertaking a skills gap mapping. We're doing this in partnership with a company in mainland, and we'll be having a system that will now be able to identify, first of all, to upload all the current positions that are existing within all the trade sectors in Zanzibar. It would also be able to identify which gaps, and from that, we'll then come up with a strategy to ensure that we're able to build the capacity of the different sectors based on the report that will come out from this. And we're also in the process of creating the local content policy. And I believe that Oman is one of, they've been very successful with the ICV, which is the in-country value, and how they were able to ensure that they build the capacity of their people and to ensure that they're also holding the positions. And I think they've done that gradually. I had the pleasure to meet Madame Sharifa. I know you've not been mentioned, but please stand up, let them see you, and give her a big round of applause. She has been instrumental in implementing the ICV in Oman. At the time, we had the pleasure to meet with her when we visited, and she was at the Ministry of Labor. So we were able to identify a number of areas where we can collaborate and see how they can assist us with that transformation. First, in creating the local content policy, but also in adopting the best practices that work for them. We can adopt that for Zanzibar. So that's another area. And our other focus, of course, is now with all these development and investments that we're promoting, it's very essential to ensure that SMEs, we're able to link them to all of these sectors. So we'll be having a very intensive clustering process. We've actually started. We're starting with the cosmetic sector, ensure that we're able to cluster all the sectors that are currently not clustered. That will give us an ease of ensuring that we're able to regulate them properly, but also ensure that we're able to identify the gaps and what kind of skills they need in order to be able to develop their products and services. And that way they'll be able to deliver and offer. And when we're linking them, in fact, to their counterparts in Oman, then at least they will be at a level playing field with the rest of the other countries. So I think we're also trying to promote and make sure as well that all our SMEs are able to take advantage of the opportunities of the different trade blocs. We have the East African Community, we have the SADC, as well as the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, which has also highlighted the number of opportunities within the region, but also within the continent. So these are our focus areas, and we're looking forward to implementing as much as we can with the different partners and working closely with His Excellency Al-Ruhmi, particularly in the area of oil and gas, and seeing how we can be able to identify the skills on that area and make sure that Zanzibaris are able to take advantage of these opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, PS Fatma. You tackled the ICV because I was gonna ask you about ICV. In Zanzibar, we talk about local content. Local content is all about every single dollar that comes into this country. How much of that remains into the local economy? You can put it as simple as that. So, obviously, the ministry has all these initiatives, and I really want to move on to the next question, and really I want this to be a conversation and give you the opportunity. But just before doing that, what timeline are we looking at? Local content, I've been talking about local content for 2 years. Ever since I was studying I was doing my master's in local content and capacity building. So give us some hope.
6 months maximum. Within 6 months, we should be able to have finalized all the groundwork, but also the policy to be able to develop that. And then the next phase would be to tailor-make the curriculums based on those gaps that we would have identified.
Excellent. Audience? You heard that, 6 months.
Yes, 6 months. I'll be back here. And you can ask me.
Your moderator is also a lawyer, and they'll be my witnesses. Thank you. Now, let me move to Mazen Araisi from the National Energy Center. This is an Omani company, and it is really encouraging to see that, finally, all the work that has been done by the government and the private sector, Chamber of Commerce, attending forums and, presenting opportunities that Zanzibar offer. We now see Omani companies. I know there's 2 in the room. We also have Fatma Al-Sinawi. Fatma, where are you? From Mostir, Omani company that owns Eskezalu. Now, Mazen, what does NEC, NEC, do in Zanzibar? And I just want to, some of these guys could be biased. Like, His Excellency was born in Zanzibar, so he'll say all the best things about investing in Zanzibar. The minister, that's his job, to promote investment. That's my job, because if investors come, then I get some work. But Imagine you're from Oman and now you're in Zanzibar. What is NEC doing in Zanzibar, and why Zanzibar?
Well, thank you very much, first of all. I would like again to congratulate you for the third edition. And it's a pleasure to be here, honestly. It's a pleasure also for appointing Dr. Rumhi. I never had the chance to meet him in Oman, but now because of that, I'm able to meet him, and trust me that he's doing a great job because we are here already. So that's a testimony that we are starting that work, and we're doing a lot of groundwork. To be honest, what NEC is all about is we started in 2010, and we started with a company where we are, I would say, utility company where we just do utility works. Today in 2024, we are an investment company. We have just transformed from being just a utility company to an investment company. Why Zanzibar? I think a wise man once said that Zanzibar is his mother. And I know who's that guy. Okay. And we believe Zanzibar is a mother of opportunities, honestly speaking. We had a chance of meeting our colleagues and friends in Zanzibar. We had a lot of ties, historical, political, as well as trade ties. But keeping that aside, it's a beautiful place to be at. Whether, opportunities, yes, there is gaps. Yes, there is some challenges, I would say, and I appreciate what PS Fatma was saying. And I have to, really highlight three major things that our company is all about. ICV, knowledge technology, and renewables. And you were saying that, and I was smiling because I had them in my list, honestly. And I was like very happy to understand that someone is really working on the ICV part. As I said, we are here to help in building some of the infrastructures, particularly to water right now. But we are moving to renewables and maybe to, if chances help us, and opportunities opens, we will be moving to different, cities and projects. One thing that really helped us before coming to Oman is really to connect with our embassy, with our consular. I think His Excellency was a big supporter. One thing that Zanzibar does not have today in Oman is a real representation of regulations. People come to Zanzibar. We had an opportunity. We started 6 or maybe 8 months back, and we had an impression, and we had some sort of thoughts. But when we came here, all of that have changed. We had to even change our plans, change our strategies, deal with local contractors. I just finished a meeting this morning with Zawa, where we have promised that a new team is coming. We have in fact brought our own team from Oman to manage the project here, because the perception was different. Now, once you're on the ground, once you understand how things works here, once you really meet and deal with the real people who really knows the business, that's a different play game. His Excellency was a great help. In fact, we got a lot of people who are, to be honest, who has promised to deliver, was promised to be partners, but they disappeared. When things are really on the hot pot, people are not there. But honestly speaking, with His Excellency, with the support of the embassy, with the support of the people who are on ground, and now having His Excellency Dr. Rumhi, I think that's an opportunity for us to think even further and to look in different projects. Again, we are here we are investment company, so we're here to make money, of course. But the whole idea is, and we need to build on our strategy, our company strategy, which is ICB, mainly under renewables. One of the major things that we're working on now is to really what will happen after we deliver our project. We finish the project. It is a 1 year or 14 months project. Deliver the project. whether we do the O&M's operation and maintenance or we hand it over, what will happen? Our worry is after the project. You can do a perfect project, but if it's not being maintained well, then you better not do it, because it will cost much more to maintain it later on than to build it. So our aim today is to build capacities. Part of our deal with ZAWA, with the government, is not only to deliver the project, but build the capacities who will be running the project. Our project today is a one-year project with 5 years of O&M. Within that 5 years of O&M, we are mandated to really upskill the people so that they can run the projects after we leave. And then they will be the supervisors of our new projects if God wills and we received our project. So the idea is not to just come and build and get paid and leave. No, we are here to stay. Whether us or our team, but our company is here to stay and to build capacities as well as capabilities. We understand that there is a lot of we've been into it. I mean, it took us really, and I've said that in Oman as well. It took us really a great time to register and do that, and we are in the process of doing it. But today, I think it's much different than yesterday. 6 months back, when my colleague Muhammad was here, really he suffered to get things done. But today we are here. I think I'm here for now 2 weeks, and today I've received, with the help of our attorney, we have received our work permit within 2 weeks, and I was told it would take you 6 months minimum. So that's an improvement. But yet there is a lot of more that we can do together with the help of the government to ease up regulations, to make sure that we are here to continue to contribute and then to stay. You need the investors to be here and to stay rather than it's a one kind of a hit.
If you can, so we know you have a project.
Is it me? Is you?
The project is but just briefly, and you're deploying this smart technology. Just briefly talk to us about, what is it? And I think the transfer of technology part you covered. Just briefly in a nutshell, what is it? So can you move on?
Yeah,
smart technology you're bringing us.
Smart technology with regards to the metering system. What we are doing, we're building an infrastructure, a water line, transmission and distribution line in 3 different schemes, with the length of approximately 50 kilometers line. So with that, we have a rehabilitation of 51 pump houses and wells as well. So we are making sure that people will get the essentials in terms of water, in terms of a system that will be sustainable. So that's our scope here. But to add into it, we are adding water pumps and pump houses with the solar energy. So you really need the power. But in case of a failure that we have suffered in Zanzibar now, a failure of power, you have the solar which will run the pump. So you'll have your essentials need of water whenever you need it. And that's our aim. And that's phase 1 now. We're hoping to go to phase 2 and then move on and forward.
Thank you very much, Mazin. Mazin is the Executive Director for Project Management. Yes.
Right.
Now, the man himself, His Excellency Dr. Romi, you're very passionate about Zanzibar. When I met you in Muscat in 2022, you told me I owe a debt to Zanzibar because for every little that I've learned, I got the foundation from Zanzibar. And now you wanted to give Zanzibar back. I don't know if Zanzibar wants to take you back. I think Zanzibar is taking you back or claiming you back. But Zanzibar appointed you and gave you that mandate. I'm sure the audience would like to hear of what do you wish, what do you hope, wish to achieve with that mandate. And you are here some engagements this morning, really high level, thanks to the revolutionary government. They really brought under one roof all the key players because His Excellency is on his fact-finding mission. From this morning, from your passion for Zanzibar and what you've heard here, do you think you are now equipped to go and promote Zanzibar and bring us another $1.2 billion? I'm sure that's what the minister wants to do. Karibu.
Well, you're only borrowing him, you're not taking him back, by the way.
Yes, we can share him between Oman and Zanzibar.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here. And first of all, I want to thank the Zibi magazine for, I don't think I deserve to be on the 3rd edition front page. I haven't done anything, to be honest with you. Maybe they like my headgear. But other than that, I wish they waited another year to see what I have done, but it's going to be too late to remove it, Sheikh Masood. Actually, credit goes to my dear brother here, His Excellency Sharif. I don't know what Masood told him for him to have his trust on me. I'm sure you passed a message of some kind, and he trusted you, and now he gave me his trust, and I really appreciate. And I have reached a stage where Zanzibar is trusting me now. The government of Zanzibar has given me that trust because that appointment has not been withdrawn, or the government has so far hasn't changed their mind yet. I hope they will not. So thanks to you, thanks to Zanzibaris, and thanks to the Zanzibar government for your trust. So my first assignment or my first hope is I don't want to let you down. I'm going to give it my best to see results. And I don't want to diagnose the problem. I think we spend too much time defining the problem instead of treating the disease itself and to go to the root cause. So that's something that I have learned in the past, is the time to study and collecting information and documenting it is maybe we've done enough of that. It is important to understand what the patient is telling you. But I think the trick is to treat the disease, and not the symptoms only, but to eliminate the disease. We have challenges. Every country has a challenge. I think Zanzibar is, with due respect, it's a tiny, beautiful island. And we can do so much with good people, honest people, peaceful place. So what's stopping us? So I think, can we get 1.2 billion? I hope we can, and convince the investors that bring your 1.2 and you go home with 2 billion. It's a place to do business, and it's a good feeling place. So when you do business here, you don't regret. It's not a painful place to do business, because there are places where you can do business and make money, but it's very painful. I don't think Zanzibar falls under that categories. This morning, actually, yesterday I arrived here and I was telling Masood, my main mission, I want to know what do you want before what I can do. Because to understand and align the priority is extremely important. And guess what? We have the same priorities. It's a human requirement, human needs. Energy is extremely important. This hotel will not be occupied without energy. And energy, sometimes we take it for granted. It's like walking into a room and you just press that something called switch and you expect the lights to be on. And there's a lot of work that goes behind before you see the lights are on. And I think the country needs to have those switches. When you press it, everything is available. And that ability to have reserves of energy in the country is extremely important. I was lucky that I spent 25 years almost doing that, and I learned so much, and we made so many mistakes. Yeah, but we learned from those mistakes. And if there's anything I can do, if I can avoid or prevent 10% of the mistakes that we made, that you shouldn't repeat the same mistakes, then I will say mission accomplished. Because it's a challenge, but it's another thing that people don't know. It's a very lucrative business. Yeah, energy is a good business. So I think the opportunities are there. My job is just to guide people who are asking for these opportunities. Believe me, there are so many people who are looking for opportunities, and all they need is somebody to point fingers and say, this is where you should go. And I think once I point them to Zanzibar, they will not look back, and I don't need to do much. So I am confident. I may fail. I hope I don't. But I'm confident that we can do things that will make a change in the country. And we can do things that will make Zanzibar a better place from energy point of view. But there are other challenges. There's a port, which also is just as crucial. The airport, I don't think we need to do much. The water system, I think you have a very comprehensive water system, and you have companies like the National Energy who are working on it. They're putting their hands dirty with the renewable. I think that's a positive direction. And I think we need, legislation. I learned today the willingness to change. If legislation is required, I think the government is ready to accommodate that. In many countries, you can do a lot of things, but you cannot change the laws. I think here we can. And I think that's very encouraging, Masood. So I am humbled to be given this trust, and I hope I can deliver. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You may notice that I did not give him the introduction he deserves, but that is because I did that on purpose. So you go and read the magazine. Here's the cover story, so come on, go and read. Yeah, at the same portfolio, Ministry of Energy and Minerals in Oman, the Sultanate of Oman, for 24 good years. There must be something that he was doing very well to have stayed that long. Like I promised, and with your permission, Mheshimiwa Waziri, would like to, I think often when we sit up here, we forget that, or at least this panel is not like that, that, I mean, sometimes that side has brilliant ideas. So, given that because we have to be mindful of time, Farida was reminding me about time. Maybe we take a couple of questions and then we'll have parting words, brief words from here, and answer those questions and parting words. So please, I think we'll take a maximum of 4 questions. 2 ladies, 2 gents. I'd like to say that. And be brief. Where you come from, what's your name, where you come from, what's your question, na nani unataka ajibu swali lako. Who do you direct your questions to? Nimekumbushwa hapa na Mheshimiwa Waziri kwamba also feel free. This audience is bilingual or multilingual. So unaweza kauliza kwa Kiswahili, Kiingereza, Kiarabu au Kifaransa au Kichina. Karibuni.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Swedi Yunus. I'm the CEO of a company called Tanzania Investment based in Zanzibar. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for organizing this event. The panel is very, very strong. Let me get direct to my question. I direct my question to the Permanent Secretary, Fatma. Please. I got very excited when you spoke about local content. So my question is, you said within 6 months, probably could be ready. What's the greatest hurdle that you see in terms of implementing local content? That's one. Two, what will make the locals benefit and be smiling based on this policy? Because I know it has been an issue. I perused through the magazine. I saw that there's some investments have created around 1,600 direct jobs to the locals, but I wasn't very sure if we can have detailed statistics. But at the moment, it's just that. And I'd just like to make a comment, Dr. Rumi. You mentioned that you might fail, but I have great confidence in the team that is in front of you there and many others that you will not fail. I'm sure you will succeed. Thank you very much.
Asante sana, Mr. Yunus, for your question. I think the challenge that we are foreseeing would really be to get the groundwork going. So really, to be able to build the capacity of the SMEs to actually be able to deliver. Because having local content is one thing, but then having the businesses to be able to deliver is something completely different. So there are examples where a local content policy has been introduced and people were not able to meet that quota. So for instance, maybe the local content might say 30% of all procurement needs to be done by women SMEs, right? And in its actual practicality, it was not be able to be met, here 30. So barely about 7% were able to deliver. And so I think that will be the biggest hurdle, will be the biggest job that needs to be done is really to upgrade the SMEs and ensure that they have the capacity to deliver. And then on your other question, you asked, what would the benefit be to the locals? I think currently we do not have any, how can I say, the specific incentives to motivate the locals to be able to take advantage of those opportunities that are available. So I think with this content, it will be able to, with the policy, it will be able to inform, first of all, the public, to know what it is that what advantages are there and how much they will be able to achieve in terms of making sure that that dollar, let's say 60% of the dollar that is being spent in Zanzibar actually remains to the locals. So this is a big benefit. It will also be able to raise the standard. And I think for us, it will be another challenge to be able to ensure that now we are regulating and ensuring that the locals are actually benefiting from this policy. Thank you.
I just want to comment on this local content issue because, yes, there was a huge cry a long time ago in regards to local content. And I remember when we prepared oil and gas, is it an act or policy? It touches about local content. It's one of the sectors that has touched it. But my worry is not the policy, it's not the act, it's not the government readiness.
to make sure that locals benefit out of it. My worry is those locals, are they ready? Have they got capacity? That is my worry. So get yourself ready, build your capacity. And when we say we build the capacity, it doesn't mean to know something. That is one. But two, capacity in terms of finance, capacity in terms of qualification. Because if you don't have it, means those investors who are coming in, they won't let you touch their projects. And the last thing is the quality of what we can do. Thanks.
No more questions? Okay, sure.
Thank you. I think I'll direct my question to Dr. Mohammed on this. My voice is still too strong enough, I'll try. So I'm getting at moving from trade into investment. And I would like to link my question to the last statement of Minister Sharif in terms of local content. So my interest is looking at the local content in terms of investment and ownership. And I'd like to hear from Oman experience, because I believe not many years ago, not decades, Oman were not strong, didn't have enough capital to invest. But now they're investing and they're going abroad, like coming to Zanzibar. So what Zanzibar can really learn from your experience, from the experience of Oman, in particular in this strategic sector like energy, which required extensive capital and extensive technology, to be able to invest more just thinking beside the local contents in terms of supplying small bits here and there. So how can you get a piece of cake and be able to create a wealth that can stay in Zanzibar based on the experience from
Thank you very much. I think there are two sides of this equation. One is the receiving side. So from Zanzibar point of view, as His Excellency mentioned, there's a need of Zanzibari entities, SMEs, banks, manufacturing sector, to be prepared to receive the investment that is going to come. And when they come, and Fatma tells them, by the way, there is an ICV requirement. This is what we did in Oman. We invited investment, they came, and after receiving them, and when we were ready to start work, we said, these are the requirements for your investment, and we are going to assist. So you need actually, or the Zanzibar side needs to prepare. So the Fatmas of Zanzibar, they need to prepare themselves to receive the investors and to assure them that the requirement that His Excellency mentioned, for example, the quality, the capacity, the capabilities, is already been worked out. So we used to go to the SMEs and tell them, here are the opportunities, and we are ready to fill the gaps, because you are going to discover that the SMEs here do not meet, but that should not be the end of this of the discussion. We need to identify what are the gaps, and we need to fill those gaps in order for the ICV to be successful. And normally, if you can define exactly what is needed, it's very easy to fill the gaps. You need manpower, which you have already, and you need to customize. So we used to have a training fund from the government, and incidentally, Sharifa was heading that. And her job was to identify the gaps and to fill the gaps to the comfort of the investors who we are asking them to use the local content. And I think, I'm biased of course, I think it worked because I used to head that investment fund, and we were very successful in oil and gas. And oil and gas are international investors, and the quality of investment is quite high. The quality of projects, the standards are quite high, the risks are quite high, the HSE requirement, the safety requirement is quite high. And for the locals to reach that high standard was a challenge. But I think we need to be ready to assist. So we should not be just like school teachers grading the SMEs and say, you got an A, you got an F, you got a C, and you need to be B+ in order to qualify. We need to take the F and the C's and the D's and upgrade them to where we want and the investor wants. Once we have that, I think the problem is solved. And I think, to be fair to the SMEs, they need help. And this is all over the world, by the way. It's not just here. And I think the government here needs to be prepared. And part of the and parcel of this project is to identify the gaps. And I think once you identify the gaps, you know exactly what is needed. I hope I answered your question.
Now, as we wrap up, we heard of the government commitment, we heard of Zanzibar being the mother of opportunity, we heard of ICV coming, and we heard from Dr. Rumhi that people are looking for opportunities. Now, to link all of this and to connect it to one of the questions about the local people smiling, at the end of all that we do, Mzanzibari ananufaika vipi? How does that benefit our community, our people? In one word, and I'll be strict hata kwa heshimiwa. So, the closing parting word, Mheshimiwa. Okay, Mazen, you go.
Well, I think commitment. Okay. Commitment is something that we have all to work towards. Whether it is government, whether it is investors coming from outside, whether it is SMEs or companies,
Thank you.
We need to respect our words. We need to be committed to whatever we are doing and ensure that whatever we are saying, walk the talk, basically.
Shukran.
Thank you. Because I promised 6 months. No, inshallah, like, of course, we have to say inshallah. So, 6 months, we will be able to deliver because we've already reached quite a step already. And I usually like to use the maximum, if not the minimum, in case I don't deliver. I still have an extra room to deliver. So I think my parting words would also be, in addition to what you have mentioned, is really to be consistent and to collaborate, because public sector cannot do it. We cannot do it by ourselves. So the PPP is very. You can't hear me.
No, I was just gonna pick consistency because I said in a word or two. You have a few seconds.
Yeah, so it's consistency and collaboration.
Thank you.
And we welcome the private sector. We're willing to work, as His Excellency had mentioned. The government is willing. We're ready. So let's work together, and I'm sure we'll be able to reach our goals.
Ahsante Katibu. Dr. Romhi, you can just finish on Zanzibar and kama mayangu and it'll be fine.
I'll try and be close. Love of Zanzibar, just fall in love with Zanzibar. If in case, I'm not doubting you, but I think one of the things we often miss is we take ourselves for granted. You really, if you do for the country, if you do for your people, everything will work. We need people to love Zanzibar, and I have no doubt that all of you, all of us, we're here because we love Zanzibar. So keep loving Zanzibar and everything will be fine.
Naomba niseme kwa Kiswahili. Fursa ipo. Tujiamini na tufanye kazi kwa ajili ya kujenga nchi yetu.
Asanteni sana my distinguished panel. Jamani, wapigeni makofi ya kutosha. Now my distinguished panelists, tutapiga picha, tutapiga hapa hapa.
Yes.
Hapa hapa.
A big round of applause for them, please. Thank you so much, Masood, for such an excellent moderation, and the panelists for revolutionizing insight. We had an interesting conversation today. Ladies and gentlemen, now, as we would like to head to the second panel discussion, but I have a special performance that I've prepared for you. And I'm to give you the taste of Zanzibar. So allow me to welcome Rahat Zaman for special performance. Makofi kwa tafadhali.
21st, Rayu kanambia. 21st. Yes, nambia bro. Mambo, asante sana. Okay. Mimi namsikiliza balozi narudi.
Especially if the 10% is going on.
That will be a good one for you. We have to cover the national day. Oh.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the performance. And now proceeding with our second panel discussion, where I would like to call upon Hamad, the Executive Director for Zanzibar National Chamber of Commerce, who would walk us through on the discussion, building capacity and brand for local and international markets. Makofi kwake tafadhali.
Assalamu alaikum. Very good evening. Karibuni, you're most welcome in this second session for the panel, which we are going to see or to look into the building capacity and brands for local and international markets. Yeah, I have a list of my panelists here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, good number. I have Ms. Hafsa Mbamba from Presidential Delivery Bureau. Karibu Hafsa, please take a seat. Round of applause to her. And then I have somebody from Economic Empowerment Authority, but unfortunately he's not around, so we'll excuse him. Ahsante. But Mohammed Noor is here with us today from People's Bank of Zanzibar. Most welcome, Brother Mohammed Noor. Show us how you build the capacities and the brands of our business in Zanzibar, especially for export. And then I would like to invite Madam Sharifa. Is it a big surprise? Yeah, I'm told this is a panelist who is not in the panel list.
Yes, I'm not in the panel.
She's a panelist who is not in the panel list. But Karib Sana, and we'll need your insights into this topic. And yeah, so we have somebody from the government, Presidential Delivery Bureau. We have a financial institution, People's Bank of Zanzibar, and we have someone from infrastructure sector, Madam Sharifa, Karib Sana. We need to hear your insight into this. And I would like, my name is Hamad Hamad. I'm the Executive Director of Zanzibar National Chamber of Commerce. When I sit, I feel more tired, so I prefer standing, but to observe the protocols, then I will sit. Thank you so much, Madam Fatma, for that. And I want to make this session as interactive as possible. So I will not only drop the questions to my panelists here, but I will also drop the questions on the audience so that we can gain insights. We're only 3 people here, and you are so many there. I know there's more knowledge over there than there is from this side. So let's share what we have. I'll give you 1 minute each to introduce yourself and what you have. I'll start with you, Hafsa.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hafsa Mbamba. I'm the tourism manager for the Presidential Delivery Bureau and former CEO of the Commission for Tourism. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
I've been blessed. I got 2 mics. My name is Mohammed Noor, and I'm hailing from People's Bank of Zanzibar, in particular the corporate and investment banking unit. I'm hoping that we could have a very beautiful discussion here on how we can open up Zanzibar much further. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. This is a surprise to me. Thank you, Masood, very much. I'm Sharifa Aidid. I'm retired. I opened my own company right now. And actually, Dr. Mohammed Rumhi and Said, they are my advisors. The company is about net zero. So the name is Net Zero Solutions, NTZ. Before I retired, my last job was a consultant to the Minister of Labor on Human Capital Development, training and closing the gap between demand and supply in the Omani market. And before that, I was the CEO of National Training Fund, as how Dr. Rumhi mentioned, where we delivered so many projects on human capital. And coming from a background of ICV, where I established and headed the department called National Objectives, which is one pillar of ICV, the human capital.
Thank you, Madam Sharifa, but please hand over the mics to her. Yeah, I like that profile. I like that profile, and I would like to start with you. Based on your experience, what do you think are the most critical elements for building capacity of the businesses, especially the SMEs in Zanzibar?
Is it me or it's?
Yeah, it's you.
Because when I bring it closer, it makes the sound.
Yeah, you just proceed.
Yeah. All right, okay. So the most important thing to build the capacity for SMEs is to believe in them. When you believe in the SMEs, of course, you'll start to close the gaps to bring them to the standards that you want to, as how Dr. Rumhi rightfully said. And also the collaboration between the government and the private sector in doing that. So the government has to trust the SMEs, and the private sectors also. They have to support in trusting the SMEs. So trust and believing in them is the most important.
Thank you so much, Madam Sharifa. And because that aligns with what we as a chamber have been preaching for many years, trust in our SMEs, but also collaboration between the private sector and the public. Thank you for that opening. Now I come to you, Hafsa, as you hail from the Presidential Delivery Bureau. Please tell us, how can the government policies and programs support the growth of local businesses and brands in Zanzibar? And if you have any example of those initiatives by the government, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I think if we were to take tourism as a sector, as an example, the policy itself, obviously, there's always room for improvement, but it's not so much the policy, but it's the implementation of it. I think what has lacked so far, and perhaps what has changed a bit in the last 2 years, is how the collaboration has actually worked between the government and public sector. Because I think the tourism policy is currently being reviewed, and obviously there are elements that are going to be added into that. But the gap between the public and the private sector, in my opinion, has been one of the weaknesses for us in tourism development and creating that brand that we want for tourism. So the vision has changed, especially in this administration, and this is what we need to catch up on. So historically, when we started officially the tourism sector, if you like, we looked more, we were just a leisure destination. So even the human capital that was needed at the time was really just to meet those services. But since then, we're now looking into diversifying the industry and not just looking at the beach element. And this is where the skill gap currently is, and what the government is currently working on. So if you look at the whole value chain of tourism, I believe, the right policies are important, but how are we actually implementing those policies, in my opinion, is the key challenge here.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we have the policies, but the implementation is what is lacking, if I may say so. So we need to align our policies with the practical actions that we are taking as at the government, but also in the private sector. Now I want to come to Brother Mohammed Noor. When we speak of building capacities, when we speak of branding, nothing can happen without funds. And this has been the highest cries of our SMEs. And the question of access to finance remains a big challenge for our businesses, especially those who want to expand. What role do financial institutions play in Zanzibar in supporting the businesses, especially the SMEs, the local SMEs?
Thank you. And it's quite loaded because when you speak about economy and bottom line, it's all about the funds.
Yeah.
Bottom line, it's all about the funds. And every time when when we attend such discussions, we always get put on the spot on what we can do exactly. Ideally, there is no single financial institution that can really change the lives or the outlooks of the SMEs without working very closely with the government. And thankfully enough, the regime right now, they have enabled this empowerment of the SMEs and the MSMEs through ZIA. Our brother here is missing, unfortunately, but through ZIA and PBZ and other financial institutions, they are working together to see how we can empower and we can improve the livelihood is not really the correct word, but the capacity and the branding of the SMEs and the such startup companies. As we speak right now, for example, from my institution, starting from next year, we have solid plans to work together with specific to create partnerships, strategic partnerships with such organizations like yourselves. We have one with ZIA. Next year is going to be your turn. Hoping that we could collaborate closely and get down to the ground, to the ground level, to the roots, because most of the challenges that we receive when we receive the applications from the SMEs and the likes, knowledge gap from the beginning. There's knowledge gap, how they write their papers, how they present their requirements. You know, you could have a very good idea or a very excellent business in your hands, but how you explain it, how you express it to the financial institutions would decide whether you get the funds or not. And this is very much prevalent in the businesses that are operating in Zanzibar. Surprisingly enough, it is not just from the SMEs level, even the large corporates. I'm not at liberty of mentioning names, but even the big business people of Zanzibar, we have to sit down and assist them on how they can write approvable papers. Because once you mention funds, at the higher level, it's all about the papers that you're sending. What are you writing? What documents are you attaching? How do you present your idea? How do you handle your finances well before? So sometimes you could have a good business that is working already, but every banking institution would say, I need to see your finances for the last 6 months, 3 months. And our population here, majority of them, they keep their money under their beds. Majority, this is still prevalent. So what are we doing to remove that? We are trying to make banking easy. We are leveraging on technology. PBZ right now is leveraging highly into technology. We are trying to make sure that you could access your account from your bedroom, literally, without getting out of the door. We are trying to see how we can train these SMEs through the initiatives that we are going to take with other friend institutions. And also we are trying to elaborate and simplify the whole financing process, from the comprehensive offering of trade financing loans to the guarantees and everything else. We are trying to see how we could make it easy to the SMEs and the institutions that we are discussing here. And uniquely enough, PBZ has offered, we have an Islamic banking proposition, which makes a population that was previously unbankable, we make them bankable, and hence we are bringing access to funds to the people that were normally saying, I cannot bank because it's against my faith. So now we are trying to break down that barrier as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Mohammed. No, please, round of applause to my panelists here for well-addressed questions. But still with you, Mohammed, when we engage, we as a chamber, when we engage with our members, especially on the aspect of access to finance, they tell us with our banking system, there's more chances not to get a loan than to get it. So can you please tell us what really the banks look into when they assess for the loans, for business loans? What vitu gani hasa mnaviangalia ili hawa watu wasistand katika chance za kukosa mkopo kuliko kupata?
Thank you very much. Sustainability of the business. Bottom line, all financiers are looking at the sustainability of the business. It should be known that the funds that financiers invest into businesses are not their own funds. They belong to other people. So we have to make sure these funds will have to come back. So once that business is sustainable, and how will you know that the business is sustainable? You look at various points that would guide you to see for how long that business has been working, its turnover, how much is there, whether the funds are being channeled through the accounts properly, are they using the appropriate financial systems that are available in the country, whether they are paying the taxes that are needed. And there are many, many small factors that are considered, which in the long run would make you decide, I can finance this person or this business. Unfortunately, the tax element has been an issue for quite a while. Most of the SMEs that we're talking about here, most of them are not tax compliant, if I would say. And this is an area that the moment you mention, I need to see a tax clearance form, they're not coming back. The moment you mention that, I need to see a tax clearance form, they're not coming back. And this is mandated by the law. Every loan, every financing that happens, it has to comply with the tax regulations, with the banking regulations, and so on and so forth. So bottom line, as I said earlier, there is that knowledge gap that we need to sit down and consult the business owners and tell them that instead, for example, of asking for 7 billion, you should start for asking 700,000 or 7 million. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So there's a knowledge gap, and all those things that you have mentioned, I think we need to work together to resolve these issues. Please hand the mic to Sister Sharifa. Madam Hafsa here mentioned about the skills gap. She mentioned specifically in tourism sector, but yeah, we all understand there are skills gap in every sector of the businesses. And you coming from that sector, from that perspective, and you being the outsider, someone who is watching with the iPad, what would you suggest for Zanzibar to do, for the government of Zanzibar to do, to improve the skills of its people, especially the youth?
Before I answer that question, I would just like to comment on everything that I just heard.
Yes.
It's all about trust. The banks don't trust the SMEs, and the SMEs don't trust the government to pay the tax, and they don't trust the banks to put their money in, and so on and so forth. So we go back to trust. Okay, so answering that question, before we do anything, we need to understand what are we dealing with when it comes to skills, and why do we want to diagnose the skill gap? Because if you go to that area without knowing these two questions, you will be everywhere. And you will be tackling every issue, because a human being is a human being. They might have so many gaps in so many ways. However, if we have a clear target of our vision, or where do we want Zanzibar to go according to the specific projects that are in hand, then we start to go down and say, where are these people to deliver these projects? Then after you identify where the people are, you will say, let's analyze the capacity of these people. Once you do that, then you will have a choice to say, am I going to tackle everything, or do I have to, make it short so that they can deliver on the right time? So answering your question, that needs to answer another question, which is, where do you want to go? Because according to where you want to go, you're going to decide what people you're going to take with you. And what is the condition of those people? What's their status? What's their skills, competences, and their capacity, and so on and so forth? What do they need to develop them to the level that you are asking for? So that's my answer. And there are tools to do that, by the way, and it's not a rocket science.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Sharifa, for that very good response. And I take that as a suggestion or advice to the government, and we have the government person here, Sister Hafsa, that we need to increase our perception on our local SMEs, how we can support them, because we have this version that Wazanzibari hawawezi, Wazanzibari hawajui, and it's everywhere. Yeah, it's a question of trust. And if Wazanzibari hawawezi, we wouldn't have this line here. We have Honorable Sharif. We know how he's performing. We have Masood, who is going out now. We know how he's performing very, very well. We have Madam Fatma, who was in the private sector. Thank you, Masood. Who was in the private sector, and now she's in the government. And we see the wonders. We have Hafsa here. So it's not true that Wazanzibari hawawezi. We can, but the only problem is the trust. So let us trust each other. The private sector trusting the government trusting the private sector, the SMEs, the MS bank systems trusting the businesses to trust the bank system. And Mohammed, you mentioned one thing about tax compliance, which is true. Many businesses, we understand that we do not comply. We do not voluntarily comply. And why? You will answer.
I thought you would answer.
No, that's the question. Why? So I will give the chance to the audience to ask or to respond, to say your vision on what we are discussing here. But I would like Hafsa to say something about the challenges and opportunities in building capacities, especially with the branding. I know you've been into this industry for a while. What are the challenges and what are the opportunities in branding for Zanzibar, not only in tourism, but in all sectors? And after this, I'll come to the audience.
Okay, thank you. I think aside from the skill gap, it's also a common understanding of what do we want as a nation. Because a brand is not just, a nice logo and a nice slogan. As Madam Sharifa mentioned, what vision do we have and how do we want to achieve it? Now, that along that journey is how we actually create our brand. If you take an example of recent brands have popped up, like Korea, with their K-pop, K-culture, K-this, K-that. As a nation, a collaboration between the government and private sector, they've managed to create a strong brand where the government supports the private sector and the private sector obviously works closely with the government sector. And through that, they've managed to create a brand that is obviously locally very much sought after, but also exported, internationally. And I think as Zanzibar, we have so much potential in a sense that, not only are we just a cosmopolitan society, but we have some of the core values. We're charismatic, we are actually hardworking. I think it's a stigma that I don't know where it started from, because the same Zanzibaris, you take them out of Zanzibar, they actually perform.
Yeah.
But when they're in Zanzibar, apparently they cannot perform. So again, instead of looking at the stigma, but look at what is actually the core problem, and what do we need to address. Going back to tourism, we understand maybe one of the core gaps is actually soft skills. So let's go in and improve or increase soft skills, because in order to work in tourism and hospitality, you have to be charismatic. And Zanzibaris are naturally charismatic, but maybe there's a language barrier, things like that we need to improve on. But it's a brand that we could actually export as well, as they do with the Philippines and other countries as well. But again, in my opinion, it goes back to collaboration. The government can only do so much, but the private sector is equally part of this in a sense that a brand is a national identity. It's not just from the government. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please give a round of applause to my panelists here. And I would like to see to get some contributions from the panel. And I have one hand here, two hands. Third hand, Suleiman. Let's start with the gentleman here. Karim. Now, so you can use this one.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi there, my name is Mark. Kilimani View Hotel. I'm sort of fairly new to the Zanzibar business scene in the sort of tourism sector, but with my limited knowledge and my greater knowledge of the Zanzibar government, I have to take you to task. Every single ice cream, every single piece of food, most gifts, all these things, they're all made by Zanzibar people, or at least imported by Zanzibar people. So really, the only important thing to do is to make sure that the tourism industry is strong. And it's become a kind of a nice way to say, oh yeah, tourism is 62% of our net GDP, whatever. But what's really happened is this. 3 months ago, the turnover of our hotels was here. And then the month after, it dropped just a tiny bit to here. And we all looked at each other and said, there's something really strange happening here. How can it be in a really, really good positive season, November, not the best, that our turnover has dropped by 5%. And then the next month, 10%. And the only thing I can think of, and on the internet it's rife in all the rooms of conversations, the government thought, what a great idea. Why don't we impose a tax? We'll call it $44 and we'll say it's some sort of insurance. But just so it's completely independent, we won't find a big Dutch or Swedish or Swiss company to manage it. What we'll do is, we'll do it with our own insurance company. And that way it won't look like a tax. It won't look like a punishment. We pay a levy for every bed that gets filled every night. And on our cheaper resort, it's $2, $3, small money. But if somebody stays for 10 days, that's $30 odd that the government don't get. But they don't realise that what they've done is they've scared away thousands and thousands of people. And it seemed such a great idea. I was around when it was thought of, and I said, it's the worst possible thing you could do. It's like shooting yourself in the head, because it's not the dollars you lose on the ridiculous levy, which is ridiculous. It's the money you lose on the income from the ice cream. A company like Ahsante, they pay their tax, they do their things, but because the ice cream tends to sell to silly Mazungos who are out there in Stone Town, what's happening is they're kind of not being able to earn the profit to be able to pay the tax. And it's not a question of compliance, it's a question that the government have gone so over the top by, and I use the word very loosely, like screwing the last bit of blood out of every single thing. But this insurance thing is the worst thing I've ever heard. And if anybody's got a positive Anybody in the room has got a positive thing to say? Say it now, just so I can sleep tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a question to. It's an open. Yeah. All right. We have a minister here who want to respond to that. Karim.
Thank you very much. What is your good name?
My name? Yes. Mark at Kilmarnie Hotel.
Okay, Mark. And let me tell you one thing. This event is online. Someone has just sent me some videos from China. And what Mark is saying to me is absurd. Maybe he's got no information of what the government decision in regards to travel insurance, which for his information is a mandatory. And it is something that is going regional now. So if himself or anyone else is not ready for it, please leave us alone. Because this has been now everywhere. You are misleading the people, you are misleading our tourists because of your own interest. When you put extra fees for your rooms, to you it's okay. But when the government comes in with a very good initiative in regards to anyone who is traveling inbound to Zanzibar, whenever it's got any emergency, the government is ready to assist, is ready to use that insurance to save his life, to save his problems. So my suggestion to you, my friend Mark, this event is not a proper place for what you have discussed today. If you have any query, please let's have time together. We can sit down and speak about it. But that is a mandatory, it's a policy which, the way you sound English.
I am.
Yes. Which, even in UK, when you go, whenever I travel to UK, I have to pay for my travel insurance. And I have my own international insurance. So please, you want to invest with us, invest with us. You don't want to invest with us, you can go. But we will never, never allow anyone to mislead our audiences, to mislead our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Sharif, for that comment. And I assume we are all on the same table now. I saw a hand from Dr. Tahir from Mani and from Madam Fatma, so let's go with Dr. Tahir first. And then I've seen you, Alphonse Gura.
Thank you. Going back to the theme of discussion, so I was a little bit surprised with Mohammed's comments about the financing landscape, responding to your response. So I'll just comment on that. It doesn't necessarily need to answer, but if he can, it's okay. And then I'll ask another question to Sharifa. So they find, like Dr. Mohammed said earlier, we are often not going to the root cause. Just to look at that. So the issue is cost of capital is too high. The banks are, charging very high interest rates. This is well acknowledged even by central bank. So in the case of Zanzibar, I was expecting to hear what people that they have on mind in terms of bringing down, cost of debt from whatever 15, 18% rate that's going around the market to lower, given it's a bank owned by the government and given to support, small enterprises. What are they thinking in terms of, cater for the need of SMEs. And we've seen that in mainland CRPB, they have loans for agriculture, some, government-backed fund from European Union and all of those donors. But the aim is to bring that cost of capital low. So in mainland it's happening, but in Zanzibar we don't hear about that. So that's actually the most, serious issue. So, and I'm talking about, forgetting about this cash France bank or whatever, I'm talking about SMEs that have enough proven track record that they can access debt, but even when they do so, the cost is too high of debt compared to foreign investors who can access debt abroad. So that's a serious challenge. So to Madam Sharif, I don't know, maybe you can shed a light on that based on experience from Oman in terms of, enabling SMEs to access, capital through, some sort of more softer arrangement than, the banks that are trying to always maximize their return. That's one. And second, in terms of supporting SMEs, it would be interesting to hear from, because in Zanzibar, Tanzania in general, nepotism, it's part of running our blood. So when you support SMEs, which is probably the case in Oman, what mechanism do you really have in place to ensure that those most profitable, attractive, those with a good potential investment are the ones that got support, so be it capacity, and so be it access to capital. Because without that, the capital or effort will be channeled into more, not so efficient way. So I hope I structured my question correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tahir. And I say there are better questions from this side than what I was asking. So thank you so much for that question. And please take those questions, note them, and you respond when the time comes. Suleiman, and then Fatma, then Bura. Wow, so many hands. How many minutes do you have? How many hours?
Hours. Have minutes, 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay, make it one minute, Suleiman.
Good afternoon. My name is Suleiman, and I'm CEO from Chaco Zanzibar. It's a recycling company, but at the same time, I'm active chairman of Zanzibar Association of Tourism Investors. I was more into of course, it has been saying about it. It's about the rent of the loans. I think for SMEs, it's very important to look into that because I've been living in Europe, and the rate there of the rent is really low, especially for SMEs. So maybe your bank could look into it to look at, because you can support the SMEs. And then another question about the in Oman. Could you maybe explain to us a little bit about in Oman, how did they help the SMEs to be able to engage or to have a better business? That is one. And the third one is the last one. Is of course the government, they have this there, which is helping the SMEs, but I think not only about the loan, but it's about the awareness and educational to understand what the SMEs they could do or how they can get a loan, or as you say, the banker, like how they should understand to file their finance, because I think it's a lack of that. Many of SMEs, they have that, and many of the business bigger people who you mentioned before. So maybe we can consider into that.
Thank you, Suleiman. P.S. Fatma, and then Alphonse.
I have two questions. I would like them to Mohamed Noor, perhaps because we're government. I think we can figure it out behind closed doors.
100% owned by the government.
Cooperate. So, and Sharifa. So, Mohamed, I just wanted to ask you, if you were to I mean, you've heard about the ICB, the local content. We've been talking about it quite often now. What do you think the bank, PBZ, especially now that you mentioned your government, what can you do to facilitate local content? And for Sharifa, having your experience in the whole ICB content, what would you say would be maybe the #1 action that we can take immediately while these processes are being done, like I said, while the policy is being created and everything that we're doing now to identify the gap? Is there anything that we can immediately do and see like immediate results? Thank you.
Thank you. Jamani, naomba nione mikono mitatu ya mwisho kwa sababu naona haimalizi. Alphonse, dada hapo na Mr. Pale. Thank you so much.
Thanks, I'll be quick. Alphonse, person lawyer, Brookfield attorneys. My questions to Madam Hassan. One, I really wanted to hear you unpack when you said we were a leisure tourism destination, but there are transformations in the past 2 years. I want you to unpack that. And secondly, about branding. I think we really need to have a deeper dialogue on matters of branding, because we have a brand that we are selling outside there, but the systems and structures for protecting that brand, I think it's not as strong as the brand itself. So we wish to hear more what's been done to protect that brand. Recently, I read an article that a lot of art pieces have been bought here in Zanzibar, just as the same way in Dar es Salaam, Tingatinga, something like that. So, but they've been sold in China and international markets, and that value does not trickle down back to our country. You know, when you speak of art contracts, any value addition in the international market should go back to the originator, and that's not coming back here. So that's the examples that I'm talking about. I think we need a deeper discussion. Ngome Kongwe, it's been sold there in portraits outside. Inapigwa picha kila sehemu inatumika. Lakini, what value are we getting? How are we protecting that as a brand? Yeah. So that's my comments.
Asante. Is the plate full already, or we still have a space for some more? We only have 2 more hands. And I assume the questions are not coming to you, so you have enough plate. Yes, my good sister there, and then finally to brother with glasses there. Yeah?
Hi, so my name is Charity, and I work mostly with the students in private schools and government schools. Speaking of business, I think one of the things that we forget is we have to start from the bottom, and it's the children at school. This is to PBZ. What kind of programs can you put in place so that we can teach them from a young age how to manage money, how to save the money, how to then trust the bank? Because the adults that are there now, yes, they still believe in keeping money under the pillow, under the mattress. But if we don't start from the bottom while they're still young, we are going to continue to have this problem for more years to come. And also, what are some of the things that you could do with some of the private schools that are trying to bring in a new wave of education, unlike the normal traditional methods? We all know we have certain other schools that are like the most expensive that not the local Zanzibaris can afford. But there are some local Zanzibaris that have come up and opened private schools, but they are lacking financially. I don't know if they can be investors that would be willing to also partner in the education sector. We have focused so much on real estate and tourism, but we are forgetting to teach the locals Zanzibari that we are looking for the skill from. So we need to start from the bottom. Thank you.
Asante. Thank you so much, Dada. Brother there with glasses, with a blue shirt, with the strips. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. So there's been something of a general pessimism about the previous success of Zanzibar in building up local content. I wonder if you could point to any concrete examples of successful efforts at building local content in Zanzibar, and then briefly reflect on what the lessons are to be learned from those successes. Thank you.
Thank you. Juma, did you get that? You want to respond to that? No. Okay. So I will start with Sharifa. Thank you so much for very good questions and observations and comments. And I think you deserve to be standing in this position than I do, because you are a good moderators for those questions. But I was just lucky to be here. So I will start with Sharifa. Please respond to those questions. And then you will do your concluding remarks, the same for Mohammed and Hafsa. And then I will leave from here. Asante.
Is this working? Okay, I hope I understood the questions right, and I'll be very precise. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So question number one, how Oman helps SMEs to get, I think someone was asking about the lower rate of the loans, right? From the banks. Soft loans. Okay, so Oman developed two entities that SMEs they go to when they want to start businesses, and that is SME Authority, which they have their own budget to help and support SMEs, and the other one is the Omani Development Bank. Also, they are in charge of the SMEs, and they give them soft loans according to specific criteria and standards. All right. Okay, so question number two is how can we make sure that the good SMEs get the funds, right? Was that your question? How can we make sure that the good SMEs get the funds? Yes. Right, okay. So again, it's three things: a criteria, process, guidelines, and follow-up. And when I talk about these things, there are so many points that goes into it, including closing the gaps between the skills, the market, the marketing, feasibility studies, how to present yourself, where do you sell your product later, and so on and so forth. And also, Oman gives the SMEs support like paying the salaries of the SME and the staff of SME for 2 years until they stand on their feet and they start to be strong in the market. So Ministry of Labor, they pay the salaries of SMEs as one of the tools to help them. And I know this really well because it was us that we created that program, and it helped thousands and thousands of SMEs. It's closed. How can I open it again? Can you open now? Okay, thank you. All right, okay, so okay. ICV. All right, okay. The immediate things that you can do is ask yourself, where do you want to be in the next 6 months? Then look around for the projects that they suit your where you want to be. There are two kinds of projects. Projects that are still going to development and so on and so forth, and projects that are already operating. And in both, you treat them differently. The ones that are still going to be developed are the easy ones, because you can put your process and policies as you want. But the ones that are already on the ground and operating, you need negotiation skills to convince them that you need to do 1, 2, 3. And when we talk about ICV, it's about people, goods, and services. So people made in Zanzibar, goods made in Zanzibar, services from Zanzibar. Okay, so all of these elements, you have to inject them in the projects that you will. Then you don't stop there. You look around and you say, and now I need a list of SMEs, current SMEs, that they can do these opportunities in these projects. Then you identify them. Once you know them, you go and say, how can they deliver? What is the gap? If it is equipment, if it is capabilities, if it is market, whatever it is, you need to start opening the doors. Okay? So it's as easy as that. And within 6 months, I think you can do a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have some more or you're done?
That's it.
Thank you so much.
My
Yes, concluding remarks.
concluding. Okay. When I started with trust, I just wanted to ask everyone in this room, when you trust your child and you believe in your child that they can deliver something, what do? You go find the budget to send them to the right school. You close their gap. You market them as with your friends, oh, he's very smart, oh, he's this, he's that. So trust opens the doors, the market, the budget, you can find the budget, and everything else. And that's why I started with trust. In Oman, that's what we started with. And we're still struggling, but we are a bit, ahead of the game. We are not there yet, but I think we're doing it right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I like the key word, trust, trust, trust. And that sentence that Minister of Labour pays salary to SME during the starting up period. Minister of Labour, thank you. Mohammed.
All right. Actually, we've been having very interesting questions. Have you noticed, Mr. Moderator?
Exactly, yeah.
Compared to the last panel discussion. Yeah. Is it because money we're discussing money or what? Anyways, thankfully, majority of the questions that have been targeted to us have, for example, Dr. Tahir and Suleiman, they were all discussing on what we can do to lower the cost of funding. Before I answer this question, I would like to recognize the presence of Jaha, a fellow financer from National Microfinance Bank, he will resonate with what I'm saying. Tanzania, we're operating under the free market policies, yeah? So it is the market that determines the pricing. And all commercial banks, before they lend a single cent to anybody, they look at something called the cost of fund. How much does it cost the bank to raise that amount? For example, let's say Hafsa here comes to me and says, I want to borrow 100,000 from you. So being a commercial bank, I will want to lend it to her in a way that makes sense to myself, to my shareholder, to the subscribers, to the account holders whose funds I'm doing business with, because in the long run I have to pay back profit to them. So the existing rate right now in the market, if I take money from Fatma over there, I will have to pay her some, and she will demand 14%, 15%, 14.5. The lowest you can do 13 to 13.5 right now. Unfortunately, this money being from other people, from the owners, I need to return back that funds to them with a profit. It is the market that demands. So if I lend this money to somebody else, to Hafsa, my good friend here, say we want to do it at 15%, I will not be able to meet my margins. The insurance involves and a lot of other costs involves. So when we talk about lowering the interest rate or the cost of financing, I would say the first thing that we need to look at is into our fiscal policies. How are we doing as a country? The central bank, how is it regulating the economy in general. How much does it cost to lend to somebody? How much does it cost to raise that fund, those funds, the money, before you give it to somebody else? We'll need to look at the Banking Act itself. Now I'm coming to the Access. A good institution has been operational for 3, 4, 5 years. Unfortunately, you can't lend it to, because the Banking Act demands, and the lending regulations, there are specific regulatory regulations that no bank in Tanzania can touch if A, B, C, D, E, F, G are not present. But PBZ, we are still trying to do it. We're still working on it. We keep on talking to the relevant authorities. We keep on talking to the relevant ministries, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Finance and
Planning.
We are almost every day we are discussing with them on how we could make the financing or the cost of funds go lower and lower and lower. But unfortunately, as long as the market is demanding or is controlling the pricing, we will not really be in a position to lower them to the level that we are expecting. Yet, PBZ is still one of the cheapest, one of the most affordable, actually, banks in the market currently. Ms. Charity, you spoke about what are our plans regarding the children. I mentioned knowledge earlier, and I think we had a meeting some 2 weeks back with the Minister of Finance, whereby we mentioned the challenge we are facing, that right now, saving culture, how to handle funds, how to behave with money, financial discipline, was previously not being taught in our schools. But right now, alhamdulillah, the government has realized that, and almost my daughter is starting Form 1 next year. I see bookkeeping and commerce and other financial studies involved from Form 1 going forth. So that's a good move. But what is PBZ doing? Through our CSR programs, we visit universities, we welcome schools to our premises to train them, and we are open to be invited to provide seminars or discussions or to participate in any school or any institution that gives us that opportunity, because we are part of the financial trust deepening team. We are still doing it, and hopefully that would help us in terms of training the children currently. Ms. Fatma, local content, what can we do to make it stay in TZ? This is quite tough from my end because I believe a person from Central Bank could answer this more better than a person from Commercial Bank. But what do we do? Right now, we are providing the necessary technology to enable the local Zanzibaris to transact with the tourists that are coming in. You come to pay with your card, you come to pay with your e-commerce and whatnot. That service is already available at PBZ, and we are pushing it very much. We have started pushing it last month more, and we are going to push it further. Thank you. As closing remarks, we're giving them Kabisa, yeah?
Yeah, concluding remarks.
All right, my closing remarks, I would like to speak as a non-banker, as a marketer. Zanzibar is a big brand. Zanzibar is a very big brand, which unfortunately we are not using. We need to start selling Zanzibar. We need to start buying Zanzibar. And I'm not meaning Zanzibar as a country. I mean, this pen is made in Zanzibar. This pen was modified in Zanzibar. Yeah? So we need to start buying such things and pushing them around. Through these pushing, buy Zanzibar, sell Zanzibar, buy Zanzibar, sell Zanzibar, by default, the economy and the branding itself will start growing. And which also falls back, knowledge. Lack of knowledge, knowledge gap. So how can we grow and build capacity of the Zanzibari brand? Buy Zanzibar, sell Zanzibar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you. Yes, Hafsa?
All right, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I forgot the gentleman's name. I think he's a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
That much I remember. So you asked sort of to unpack what the sort of vision is for tourism. So in the last, at least, I mean, when this administration came in, the first thing that was done was to diversify the sector. So there are 5 priority areas that the government's currently working on. And when I say the government, is in the Commission for Tourism, the Zanzibar Investment Promotion Authority, and other similar authorities and ministries as well. So we have new products, if you like, which is sports tourism, heritage tourism, halal tourism, MICE, which is for meetings, incentive, conferences, and events. And the last one is medical sort of / wellness. So it's not like these products did not exist previously, but there's specific initiatives and strategies that are put in place to develop these particular tourism products. So for example, we know under the Ministry of Trade, there's a convention center that's going to be built. So you can't have MICE without a convention center. In sports development, we've seen a lot of construction of sports arenas, academies, and so on and so forth, just to give you a few examples. But this is where, when I talked earlier in terms of alignment. So the policies are there, the policies are being implemented. What are we doing on the private sector? How do we align with the government vision? So with all these new tourism products, if you like, coming along, how are we ready to accommodate them? What labor force do we have to cater for these particular new products or markets? So in terms of the development of the industry, it's obviously cross-cutting. So again, alignment, and I love what Madam Sharifa was saying, trust. Just to give you an example, there's a few hotels that started in the 90s here when you hardly had half of the resources perhaps that we have now, but they trusted the Zanzibar brand. They trusted the people, they trusted the resources. They built on those resources. Just to give you a few examples, sorry, there's a fly that's bothering me. The Emerson brand, Emerson Zanzibar brand, the Breezes, the Barazas, and so on. They came here, yes, to do business, but they also brought development. They invested in the people. They trained the people. They developed the people. And this is what we would like to see in tourism. Yes, it's fine to come and make business, but what are you leaving in the country? What is your succession plan? If you're importing human capital, from outside of Zanzibar, what will be left in Zanzibar when that GM leaves the country? Who's going to run your hotel? So if we're constantly importing human capital, the most I would like to say, practical strategy is to import that capital, to train your local staff, so you have a succession plan. And if you talk about policies and acts and so on, it's in there. Look at the Tourism Act. You're supposed to bring development to the country, not just, suck the development out of the country. But what are you leaving here? What footprints will you leave when your business is done, if you ever leave? But as I said earlier, there's so many examples of businesses that started in Zanzibar in the 90s, in parts of the island where there wasn't even electricity. There were no road networks, and we've seen in this administration, there's so much development that's happening simultaneously. So it's good to have these policies, but where is the alignment? Where is the trust? Where is the collaboration? And that's how we're going to build that Zanzibar brand, because it's a collaboration between all sectors, all stakeholders. We can't have a Zanzibar brand if some are just here to milk, I'm sorry for the lack of a better expression, to milk the resources, but not leaving any positive footprints. And I think these are the conversations that we need to have in order to ensure that, the destination is also benefiting, the society is also benefiting, because there are success stories. There are people who've done it. How have they done it? Speak to them, Yes, so going back to, you mentioned a few sort of incidents where perhaps the Zanzibar product or landmark was perhaps misused or people are taking advantage of it. I think this is a bit of a tricky one because you're talking, it's not just branding because there's, geographical IPs, et cetera, et cetera. This is a much broader conversation, as you said, but right now, what I'm referencing to is particularly the tourism brand, and this usually has a trickle effect to other sectors, and eventually we would have a national brand. And I truly believe this is where we're heading towards, and this is why we're seeing all the development in all these sectors happening simultaneously, because we're all working towards a common vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have anyone for conclusion?
Yes, not to repeat myself, but I really love the word trust and collaboration, because the public sector sets the framework, the private sector does the business. We all need each other to ensure that we have a successful industry, in this particular case, tourism. But if we're going to start pointing fingers at each other, we're not going to get there. We all have to pull up our sleeves and do the work. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's one question which has not been answered, and it will not be fair if we leave it unanswered. The question raised by good brother there, if there's any good stories of local empowerment, SME empowerment, because it's like we are starting.
I did.
Yes, you mentioned a little bit, but I saw Yuma was itching, and I wanted to say something about that. Can you please use 1 minute, 60 seconds to respond to that?
1 minute and 60 seconds?
No, 60 seconds is a translation of 1 minute.
So it's 2 minutes.
Thank you. No.
Thank you very much.
Just come over here. Yuma is the Executive Director of Zanzibar Economic Empowerment Authority, ZEA. Agency, sorry.
There's a success story, that's where you.
Thank you very much. Regarding how do we do the empowerment and what are the success stories in Zanzibar? Zanzibar Economic Empowerment Agency has shown within these 2 years we have done so many things, including access to finance to SMEs. Currently we have already disbursed around 34 billion to 30,000 plus entrepreneurs, and that has contributed in terms of creating jobs to 187,000. So in that process, having disbursed this amount of funds and take into consideration these loans are zero interest loans. And trust me, you have never seen anywhere in the world that they give it. But also to compliment on my brother Mohammed has said, this institution has come into place to reduce again the cost of funds for the banks. Why? Because banks has come up, their regulatory authorities, they have come up to say the startups business, then most of them, they're not looking on the startup business. We as Zanzibar Economic Empowerment Agency did do that, and we have started from the grassroots. We incubate them, and we have a process to incubate them, and then in 3 years' time, they have been able to be adopted by the banks. But also, we have helped the migration from the micros to become the medium, and the medium become, the small and the medium. We haven't yet reached from medium to large entrepreneurs, but at least we have the migration of this micro, medium to a small level. But also, there is a huge emergency on agro business. We have one of now of entity that is doing very well. It's called Island Diaries, which is competing with numbers of dairy companies, the likes of Darfresh. And these are very young, 5 of them. We have incubated them, and trust me now, Darfresh has sent
a pledge to them that they want to buy Island Dairies for 1 billion shillings. Why? And that is exactly exposed the threat to Darfresh that they are capitalizing their market. So we have numbers of them. Just to add on that, we have numbers of areas that we have able to empower the SMEs at a very large, but in a very small time.
Thank you.
But also, I'm going to compliment my minister here. Yesterday, he also does, the lady asked about how can we give them the capacity building. Yesterday, we have introduced a new program for universities called Incubation Program for University Students. And this, it will be a bridge for the university student to be able to be productive from the day one of their university year. So from the first of university year, they will do the ideation process, and the second year they will be formalizing. So we'll have our own companies from the university perspective, and the third year we'll give them a Zanzibar Economic Empowerment Agency and their stakeholders. We'll give them a seed funding, and that seed funding they will be able to go to the market. I'm sure our journey, but again, to complement what Hafsa says, what Madam Sharifa says, we need to trust ourselves as a private sector and public sector, but also we need to trust the process itself.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Juma. You nailed it very well. It's a good compliment to Mr. Minister here. Nimekupa nafasi ya upendeleo lakini umetumia vizuri. Thank you so much. I would like to thank my panelists here, Madam Sharifa, Mr. Mohammed, Hafsa. Special thanks to Sharifa because she was surprised by Masood. But you left us here with a very good lessons of trust and collaboration, and that's our take home for today. Nawashukuru sana audiences kwa maswali na michango mizuri. And now sijaambua kama kuna picha lakini nalazimisha picha hapa before I leave the stage. Picha please.
By default.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, tusimame jamani tupate picha.
Stand up for the photo of the panel. Thank you very much. A big round of applause for them. They did an amazing job. The panel discussion to building capacity and brand for local and international markets. Today we've learned a lot, to be honest.
Thank you.
It was really a productive day. So I truly appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, Hamad. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our panel discussion actually marks the end of our discussion today and the launching of this amazing third edition of Zibi. So now I would like to call upon Masood Salim Mohammed, a member from editorial board of Zibi, for vote of thanks. Makofi kwake tafadhali. Make it short and sweet.
Thank you. I'll start by thanking you, Farida, for great moderation. Thank you, Mheshimiwa Sharif, for staying throughout the discussion. His Excellency Dr. Rumhi, tunakushukuru tena. We cannot thank you enough. PS Fatma, all the panelists and moderators, particularly those panelists or the panelist who was not on the list. Tulemu hijack. Tunakushukuru sana, you did wonderful. Our editorial board, ya Zibi, Ahsanteni for the support. Balozi Abdul Samad, Balozi wa Heshima Brazil, tunakushukuru. Our sponsors, tunashukuru PBZ kwa kutuwezesha. Tunawashukuru Rahisi, IIT Madras, NMB, Comnet, Mwanana Communication na ZEA kwa kuwawezesha wananchi, hawakutuwezesha sisi lakini wawezesha wananchi. Said Attorney, tunawashukuru. Participants, na michango yenu valued, and as long as na data feel free. Na waziri pia ametoa fursa ya kama kuna misunderstanding, he said mtu aende akamwone, and I know he means it. Tunaomba muendelee kusupport Zibi. I think Zanzibar needs such platforms, na bila kutusupport haya yote yasingefanyika. It's because of Zibi ndio tumepata hata mjadala and the debate we've had. And as one wise man said, keep loving Zanzibar, and lastly, keep supporting ZB. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Masood. A big round of applause for him, please.
Wait.
Is this for me?
For her.
Okay. Can she read
20th
your...
November, 09 hours, Dimani Exhibition Center.
Thank you so much. Now we're heading to the photo session. Ladies and gentlemen.
Photo announcement here. Kuna cosmetic cluster exercise tumefanya tarehe 20. So anybody in the cosmetic business waje kushiriki Dimani.
Okay, there's a special announcement for cosmetic cluster exercise on the 20th of November in Dimani. You're warmly welcome for all the experts, all stakeholders from the cosmetic. Karibuni sana. Now I would like to call upon the high table to sit. Madam Sharifa tafadhali. Balozi. Masood. And we have extra seat for Hisham. Where's Hisham? Oh, Fatima, Karibu. And the first photo will be for the high table. Following the high table, we'll have a photo, the guest of honor, special guest, and editorial board. Editorial board. Yeah. The first photo is high table. The second is with editorial board. So every member of the editorial board, tafadhali. Moving to the third photo, we have guest of honor and special guest and the panelists. All the panelists, the moderators, karibuni. Please don't leave. Moderators, panelists.
Dr. Fahia, please don't leave the stage.
May I also request the sponsors and partners of Zibi to prepare themselves after this photo. Karibuni sana, asanteni. Now, high table with the sponsors and partners of Zibi. And this is our last photo. I would like to thank you all for joining us today. It's been an amazing day. Zanzibar Investment and Business Insight magazine, connecting ideas and shaping the futures. Ladies and gentlemen, we have prepared a special snacks outside. Kindly join us while you're networking and communicating with a few members that you've seen interesting today. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Farida Nasser Mohammed, and it's an honor to moderate for this session. Asante sana.